have some fun. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Detroit is Different podcast studios. And all right, today's guest is somebody that it's going to be some fun. So when I say it's going to be some fun, it's going to be some fun. You already hear what's happening before you even see her in effect. So we talk about creativity, one of the best exhibits I've been to in a long time. She hosted at the MOCAD a couple years back. So much so that I went like 5 times and brought more people, right? I was like, this is cool. Because when I say like the experience of Black family, I went into a room and felt like, damn, this was my grandma's house. And really bringing to life so many other things and portraits and pictures. And to call it art, I think I may need like another term or something like that, right? So when I explain and I give the moniker, I always say, all right, you know, the Chroma building and you see the big Halima. Shout out to Halima. Y'all know we love Halima. She's done that. But more so, like I say, Black culture, Black art, can't think of nobody better. Should have been here. Now, glad, you know, as they say, perfect timing may take some time. Sydney James, how you doing?
I am doing my best.
Okay, I'm with that.
That's the best way I could describe how I'm doing.
I'm with that. I'm with that with a grandma adage.
Listen. More like auntie. You know.
Auntie.
Yeah, more of the auntie adage.
Okay, I'm with it. I'm with it. And then y'all already see the laugh. It's better than my goofy laugh too. It's probably gonna be a lot of that. It's gonna be a lot of that in this episode. So you are familiar with some of this story, so I still got to take you there. But,
yeah.
Your family, and I already know what side of town because you were coming in talking about how it's only one driveway over here. So for everybody watching, if we're talking about very few driveways, I'll already know what side of town we're talking about. But
we on the west side. Y'all don't have no driveways. What do you mean? That is a Detroit thing. It ain't no where you might got 2 or 3 on your block. Like, it's a Detroit thing. This is absolutely the west side of Detroit.
We already know. But let's talk about the roots of your family in your Detroit story.
I'm actually just rooted in Detroit, period. So I'm 2nd generation Detroit. My both sides came up during the Great Migration.
Mm-hmm.
My mom's side, both of her parents were both from Shorter, Alabama.
Where?
Shorter, Alabama.
Shorter, Alabama?
Alabama.
Where is that at?
It's around here somewhere in Alabama. It's, you know, here, not far from Tuskegee,
okay.
You know, not far from Montgomery, you know.
Okay.
Yep. Red Ants.
All right.
All of that.
You been down that way?
Of course.
Okay.
Of course. Then my dad's side, my dad's father was from Shreveport. So, and my grandmother was her people were from Millersville, Georgia. So I can't remember if they met up here or I'm pretty sure they met up here. But I am also 3rd generation Conant Gardens, Detroit.
Hilarious. You see this? As I said, what side of town?
I am not just an East Sider. I am from the historical Conant Garden.
All right, so for people that don't know the Conant Gardens, and shout out to Martini Harris. That's what I always think about. And then all of the other culture that comes to life over there.
Orland Jones was my uncle. And so he was the historian over there. He actually, he along with several other people, published a book on the area. But I'll give you another anecdote. Jay Dilla's mama was my Girl Scout leader.
Jay Dilla, like the Amp Fiddler.
James Yancey was my first older boy crush.
Oh.
Did not know he was famous until Clifton, you know, Mr. Cliff Note.
Mm-hmm.
We were in high school because we've been best friends since 10th grade. I feel like we were in college at the time, though, but he showed me like a Fader magazine, like, oh, you got to know this producer. You got to get to know this producer. He's Detroit. He's so dope, blah, 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 blah. He opened up that page. I was like, James?
Hilarious. That's funny. That is funny. So, yeah, JD, And so much culture over there. Persian High School just recently did a lot of love to JD for a JD Day. Mama D, and a lot of that. And that's just some of it. And also, like, the official way you can learn to do the Errol Flynn. Shout out to my cousin Ben. All of that over there at Conant Gardens.
Hilarious, yes.
And that's a neighborhood that has, as you definitely connect, like, relationships that really do run generations deep.
Generations deep, but also directly connected to so many areas in Detroit, specifically like the North End and Black Bottom. Because that's where, since it was the first neighborhood in which we could own our properties, that's where, when we did do a come up outside of like just going to the west side, this was the first place we could own. Like, I think the house that I live in, because I bought a house there too. I bought a house 4 blocks away from my mama. I think it was the first Black judge's house for attorney. Like, I'm in somebody that was like a litigator, some law person.
Okay.
Their home. I honestly feel like that it should be pamphlets attached to each home in that area to give the history to whoever's living there, whether they're a renter or owner. But, you know.
I'm with it. I'm definitely with that. Nowadays, people may say that's the red zone, but the culture.
What does that even mean?
The red zone. It is kind of connected to like how like the kids kind of see where the street culture kind of aligns nowadays. When some people think of the lanes of like Conant Gardens and what's happening now, but I even think
what do people think is happening now? Because I live there, so I'm curious.
A lot of street stuff, you know.
Like what?
A lot of street stuff, the same stuff that's happening over here in a lot of Detroit.
But where? Like, I live there, so when and where this happening? Like, it's only this, you know.
I'm just telling you. I'm telling you from more so keeping up with Detroit rap, and that's how a lot of people kind of see the lens of
like
Detroit.
The perception of a whole bunch of bullshit. It's listen. I got neighbors.
Yeah.
To be like
I said,
watch each other's houses. Like, I could text them, like, girl, you hear that? You see that? Da-da. Like, but it's still goofy stuff. Not even like dangerous stuff. Like
the families that have been there, of everyone that I've known, have been there for so long. Like my cousin Ben, his family's been over there, like you say, like about 4 generations. So now that we talk about that, and the families coming up being there, so did you grow up over there and the grandparents stayed and everybody just kind of kept there in that same lineage?
Yeah, like I grew up literally 3 blocks from my grandfather's house that he had built. And then when I was 7, my parents bought a larger house a block up the road. So, like, we started off on Cheris and Hilldale, then we went up to Klinger for a bigger house. But yeah, I had an uncle that stayed on Sunset. I got cousins that stay on Monarch. You know what I'm saying? Like, we were aunt and uncle that stayed down the street on Cheris. Like, and then my grandfather's house is on Joseph Campo. So yeah. Okay. Yeah, I grew up around a lot of family and people and fake cousins that I didn't realize weren't my cousins until we got double-digit ages and shit just wasn't adding up. Like, I was that cousin, your cousin, but not my cousin. And then we figured out, oh, we're not actually blood related. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
But you know how people like to talk up the negative stuff over it actually being true just to kind of paint a picture? That ain't necessary. Like, it's
well, you see where we do in Detroit is different.
Yes.
Sometimes it can get colorful here, but also, and I think more renters have moved into this community than over there.
No, also, same. So when the renters do be, you know, they can be, but it's still like that. It ain't Beirut. It ain't what people be trying to sell it as, you know? And I feel like the story of like violence and being off the chain is easy to sell with so much dilapidation.
I think it's so many discussions to have, and I definitely didn't think we'd get here, but we here now, so we can
as well go
there. Yeah. As creative homeowners in the city of Detroit, living in communities where family has lived for a long time, some of these stories in the way that it's framed, especially when we look at right now, 12 years of administration of Mayor Mike Duggan and this, the transition from blight, ruin porn, bankruptcy, and what happened to Detroit, it's not really weaved together, I think, from the same framework of like if you live in that community. I'm going to say that a lot of it is just opportunity. You were on the porch waiting as we were going to start our interview, and we're seeing like a crew of like 6 DTE workers like marking the sidewalk that was torn up as they've redone a lot of the gas lines to connect to the gas meters that connect to our house. They're saying for safety and also to just make sure that like now,
they're updating the system. They did us like,
and not one a black person in that group. As
they weren't all white either.
I know, but not one a black person. And that's one of those things that I look at where it's like, where are opportunities within our community? Because our community is signing off for like these massive changeovers and we're not being included in it. So some of the challenges and conflicts really come from the lack of opportunities coming to Detroiters and staying on top of like so much that has happened around and in development, but not being inclusive. Now that's in the world of construction.
It is, but also, so there's 2 things I want to revisit. I'm going to address that. So, and this is what I found out recently, which I kind of knew already because I work with other cities around the country. Like, do we have the construction workers that are actually signed up vendors for the city? You know what I'm saying? Like, that provide that service of cement work that they're about to do, right? So we got to make sure that we're signed up as vendors. I think that link was not working last week because I too am going to sign up as a vendor just to do creative service to make sure I have that available. Like that won't be my tale of why I didn't get it. Oh, well, you got to sign up to be a vendor. This is why. Okay, I'm gonna sign up to be a vendor, and that way I can get these vendor opportunities. So I think a lot of times we don't have information. And we don't know how to do those things. So I feel like a lot of contractors, black companies need to actually sign up and be looking for those RFPs, like the request for proposals. And when the jobs come up to bid, they need to be prepared that way.
I agree with you. That's why like a lot of these discussions are so layered. The bigger challenge becomes that we do have a city facing a lot of these challenges that our city tax dollars are funding a lot of the infrastructure developments, but under the guise of it will hire Detroiters. And implemented even an executive order. Now, it's seeming like a public comment or Detroit Next episode, but under that executive order is 51% of the workers are supposed to be Detroiters. And almost every one of the contracts now just looks at that as a fee that they will pay, which that fee then goes into this job training program. And even to council president that's now a mayoral candidate, Mary Sheffield, even uplifts. Her whole 12 years in office, they've always fell short. So what is happening with the system of the city of Detroit giving money to development, but that development not hiring Detroiters?
So part of it is those other departments, as kind of demonstrated last year and the year prior, don't respect the council and the rules of the council. So it's supposed to be, like, for instance, that mural stuff that came up, right?
A lot of, and I know we were going to get there because as much as it's not necessarily inclusive for the construction trades, a lot of having that relationship with artists.
Development.
Oh, I was going to say with artists, it's the same. It's some discussions across.
But it was the development department. That's why it definitely fits in within the thing. Anything over $25,000 has to go. It's supposed to go
before council.
Before the council. That is it. That is the rule. That is it. So if you don't, so it just shows you how much these people that are heading these departments don't respect the council. Because homeboy and homegirl didn't even do that. They backtracked what they were supposed to do. Like after the stuff was already done, they tried to go and defend what they had done and get council approval after the stuff was already done.
Yeah. And with that, what you're speaking of and a lot of people will know, there are, first off, and we're really into civics, so we're gonna drive back to your story, which this is a good way to drive back to it.
Right.
What you've done with the murals throughout the city of Detroit has added rich experiences to like some really staple Detroit communities. Even most recently, even touching in a little bit of HP.
Yep.
And you see these murals and people talk about murals and what they can bring, but it's so different with all the blackout walls that you've given, because it's a signature that just speaks to the essence of like a lot of those like layered Detroit experiences where you like, damn, that's real cool. Like, I want to take a picture in that. This is more than just that Instagrammable moment. And leading up to the NFL draft that was in 2024, there were a series of a lot of other murals that came in. Those other murals come in from a lot of artists that aren't based from the city of Detroit.
And honestly, that was just a PR stunt, PR
campaign.
But yeah, that they had to come up with a reason why. Like, why here, why now, da-da-da-da-da. That was not in the original plans for whatever they did. They came up with that thing, oh, this is for the NFL draft on the back end. None of that shit said NFL. Not one image said sports.
And
not one image had a theme, because then they came back, oh, like, no, this is about sex trafficking and bringing knowledge to that. Which image? And only one of them was really worth having because it was painted well. But the other shit, look, they threw up these huge walls and they gave them such limited time that you can't do your full best for real, like with a crew of one or two. And that's the thing, too. Like, people think that art and this mural painting, they like the hype of it, but they don't see the work of it. That is a physical ass job. Like, you are a construction worker if you are up there on a lift. You have to be certified to drive that equipment. You know what I'm saying? Like, I need the same certifications anybody else with doing big, like, forklifts and all that stuff. It's the same thing. And it's physical work. Like, you cannot take yes, it's artwork and it's cute, it's pretty, but it's actual physical work. And it's intellectual work, too. Because you still got to think and create what's going to go up there. And then they were paying. My issue with it was really my real issue. My biggest issue initially was what they were paying them. They were paying these people like $1 per square foot.
Exactly.
And that's such below industry standard. You fucking with my future money. So that's why I initially kind of started like an uproar about it. Not just that we're not represented, because we weren't. Not even this country was represented. We weren't. But also, you're literally messing up the future of what we've been building. Like, Blackout Walls is not one of the first. We make sure to pay our artists stipends, because historically, whether it was a powwow, which is now renamed, whether it was a Murals in the Market, it was free. Like, they would cover the cost of materials and stuff. And if you're a traveling artist, they would travel you in, they would bring you in, they would cover your lodging, stuff like that. But it's free labor, you know? And I think at the start of it before, because now it's such a oversaturation of like murals and mural activations and stuff like that, everybody was willing and happy to do it because it's kind of like a free billboard. You know what I'm saying? You paint your ass off on a small wall or a medium wall, and then you can get work, later on, which is, how I used it. But at the end of the day, like after 2 or 3 years of that, no, y'all should be fundraising to pay people, because this is an industry and it is feeding this area economically. Every time you bring in a group of artists, you have people, tourists coming in to see these, to even watch these artists paint and whatever. All of these restaurants and bars, they're making money. Everybody making money but the artist. And I'm pretty sure they even made money, but that's none of my business. I ain't handle your accountant. I agreed to it, but this is the stuff that I didn't like. And on top of the fact, you're hosting this festival inside of a black-ass city, the blackest city in America, and you're not bringing any black artists. And you're barely hiring the ones that work here. So, okay.
And y'all see why she should have been a guest on here. Should have been a guest on here. All right. So now we can kind of go into, we going to put a pin in Blackout Murals, and let's go into you and just your start with artistry. Did you have like family members into art? What was your start?
My start, I did have them. My aunt was a graphic designer. But even her like college paintings would be up in her room at my grandma's house. But even at church, Ruth Goins, she was the organist and the piano player, but she was a sculptor. And she would sell her stuff for like thousands of dollars. Like this older lady, like she was a sculptor. She would sculpt these figures. And then Betty Keys, who is like a master quilter, she would do these beautiful watercolor paintings. Like I was always around, not even just artists, but Black women artists. My cousins could draw. My daddy could draw. My daddy would draw, like even in church, he would draw characters. Just, you know what I'm saying? So it was never nothing for me. Once I started, and I was 3. My story is, my mom was in the kitchen cooking. I drew a picture of Gargamel, copying him from one of my coloring books. I took the picture in the kitchen to show my mom because I was geeked, because of course I was like, oh shit, it looked just like this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? So I was geeked about it at 3. My mom didn't believe it. She thought I traced it. So she sat me down and she made me draw it in front of her. Like it hurt my feelings, but she made me do it in front of her. And I did. And I've been an artist ever since.
Wow. Okay. That is an amazing story. And with that talent, you've seen it and it's kind of around you, but at 3 moving forward, where are you going?
3 turned to 5. So now I'm in Mason Elementary. And you know how in public school you get that art class maybe a couple times a week? It's that meme that always goes like, or the question that always goes around like, what was your first Black male teacher? My first Black male teacher was an art teacher. I can't remember his name. I remember vaguely what he looked like because, of course, I was 5. That's literally 41 years ago now. So, but I remember he was tall and dark-skinned. But he pulled my parents aside like, hey, your daughter has talent. When she gets of age, you need to put her in some real classes so she could, like, really hone her skill. So I started taking classes at CCS at 7.
Wow. So CCS at 7. So for people that don't know, Center for Creative Studies.
Yep. I graduated from Center though. Yep. It's now college.
College for Creative Studies is a art college.
A world-renowned art college. The crazy thing is the world knows what it is. Most Detroiters do not.
Do not. And a lot of the world knows because a lot of the designs for the American automobile come straight from CCS. And not just that house, anything
apparel,
you can think of.
Yep.
Yeah, clothing, glasswork, sculpting, it's all there. Graphic design.
Yep.
The first time I learned how to use Photoshop, shout out to my sister Dara, was through being there with her sometimes with CCS. Yep. So 7, now this is another thing. So this is no knock at CCS. This is just kind of like I have all these Wayne State stories. Like many institutions and Black people historically in America don't have the most sanctimonious relationship. CCS is definitely one of those institutions.
It's interesting that you say that because I knew I was going there for college when I turned 9, right? My child, when I was a kid, you can tell me I didn't own the building.
Wow.
Right? But going in there as a young adult, shit, a whole different ballgame.
So let's talk a bit about the child story. Like when you were a kid, what were you doing? What was that experience like?
I would do my work. Then I would take my own breaks, go to the garage, which was the store, get my snacks, and I really just would run the fucking around the whole campus because at that time it was on that small little Tinker Toy building. It didn't have the graphic design illustration building yet. So it was just the craft building, the building that houses the students. I forget what that's called. I used to live there for a semester. So I forget. And then the Tinker Toy building. So yeah, just run around like kids do, like freedom. And then also your teachers aren't racist or sexist. You know what I'm saying? Because now when I go there, it's just from freshman all the way up to senior year. I literally had teachers, Mike Michaels would say shit like, because those were industry people. Like, they were sign painters, da-da-da-da-da. And they treated us like most students, whether they were black or white, like that we were going to try to take their jobs or that we were going to take their job.
Okay.
So it was that, but also racist as hell. Like, I can't teach you how to paint black people. I don't know what colors to use.
Wow.
Literally. I would get good grades and terrible reviews. Because the art world, it's just like the regular world. It's racist and sexist, and it's by far more sexist than it is racist. So now I'm in the thick of it in this institution.
And also, when you talk about just being in the thick of it, the other layer in the world of art is it's tough if you even remove a lot of that, just as far as because it's so, it's your opinion.
It is. But yes, it is. But also, like, as a black person, it's crazy. I've been going to that school since I was 7. I also went to Cass Technical, more importantly, went to Cass Technical High School under their art department. Like, our portfolios had to be professionally ready to just get into the school. And so we thinking that's what everybody else is going to look like when we are in these classes, da-da-da-da-da. No. We get into this school, these doors, and most likely than not, the black kids are the dopest ones in the building. The black or brown or poor white kids are the dopest ones in the building. Surrounded by white mediocrity. Surrounded.
So now, just in that child journey, when you were running around and it being the world, do you think it's just the lens of them looking at you like, okay, because you're a kid,
yeah,
I just see you as a kid.
Exactly that.
But now when you become a student,
now I'm a threat.
Competition. So as that kid in art, what are you working on? What was your passion? What are you primarily connected
trying to be the best artist, drawer, period. Like, matter of fact, when I started at 7, like, because they have the kiddie classes, it's more craft, right? Oh, we're going to teach you how to make paper. We're going to do these rubbing, like where you put a leaf under a piece of paper and then you put a crayon over it. My mama, I think I might have did one class of those classes. My mama started immediately sneaking me into older classes so I could draw because I wanted to be a draftsman. So I'm trying to be the best draftsman, the best painter, everything. Like, so that's what I was working on. Like, I was just hyper-focused on being the best.
Primarily, are you doing everything like charcoal, crayon,
all of
color
it.
pencil, paint,
pencils,
water,
graphite, yep, all of it.
All right, so now keeping this pace, I'm sure your friends and family are looking at some of the works and some of the things you're doing, like...
They know I'm going to be an artist. Well, because that's what I'm going to be. You know what I'm saying? It's like...
All right, so what are you primarily painting? People? Okay.
Yep, always people. Yep.
What are some of those standout images that stand out where you even look back to yourself and say like, yo, this was...
I can't even remember. I'll be 46, so in July.
From back then. Okay.
Yeah, I can't remember because I would draw everybody, I would try to mimic images that might have been in magazines and stuff. Like, it really depends. Like, it's, I just wanted to be the sweetest.
Okay.
And then once I met YG, when I think I was entering 9th grade, the summer I met him. And I wanted to be even doper. Because I don't know if you know this about YG. He went to CCS too.
I did not know that. I did not.
So YG can paint could paint photorealistically in high school. So when he was at CCS, I think he started off in illustration, but he went into jewelry. He started making jewelry and metalsmithing and stuff like that. He kind of, because I think he was bored. Like I feel like he's one of those geniuses that if you do something so well, you just kind of move through. He Detroit's own Andre 3000. He gonna do what he gonna do. So he was even selling jewelry for a long time, like at the Detroit Arts Festival. Remember, it used to be off of Kirby and like Woodward and stuff. Like,
yep, I remember.
Yeah, and then he just fully transitioned into music at a point, and then just didn't look back.
Okay, so Cass Tech.
Mhm.
And wait, before we do that, I'm bouncing around. What are your parents doing at the time? What are
So my
what do they do?
parents, my mom was a social worker, and my father, who passed away September 1st, 1994,
Wow, condolences.
he was thank you. He was a foreman for the city, but he had been retired for 2 years by the time he passed away. So both of my parents retired like early.
So
So
both.
that's why I don't understand all this working until a certain age. Because my mom been retired since she was like 52, 53. My daddy was retired at 54. Like,
And also with both those fields, definitely like deep in Detroit and understanding people and culture of the city.
my dad. That's why that East Side West Side game I barely play it because I'm a Detroiter. My dad on his days off or when he was bored, he would just pack us up in a car and we would literally just drive around. Like I knew there were canals in the city when I was a kid. And if most people don't know that we actually have canals, like people have water in the back of their homes in a certain section of the city, off of like Chalmers or Alta Road and Jefferson, like right over there, we have actual canals. And a lot of people don't know that, but I used to look at them as a child. So,
and I'm also guessing that's under a Coleman Young administration too.
Oh yeah, my daddy.
But couldn't stand Coleman Young.
Only people who worked in the white collar part of the government really fuck with him for real. I mean, like he did really great like the first 3 to 5 years of his office, but you know, it's great that you telling, the white man fuck you and all of that, but come on, bro. The dilapidation started with him.
And your mother, as a social worker, did she
work
move
for the state?
Work for the state? Did she move from space to space?
She would, like the office to office within the Metro Detroit. But I can't remember her last office, but the one that probably stands out the most is she was the manager over the Family Independence Agency over in Highland Park.
HP.
Yeah, so I'm also a byproduct of Highland Park because we would go to the Boys and Girls Club right off of a ferry.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was our shit.
Okay.
Like,
all right. So just like, yeah, like I always say, you don't get more Detroit culture than Highland Park. That's all.
No, that's Highland Park culture. Don't let them hear you call Highland Park Detroit culture. They're their own city.
Oh, it's
and they'll let you know we are our own city.
As I often uplift and shout out to all my HP people.
Right.
Yeah, the culture there is like, oh yeah, this is like I always say, the first time I went to Harlem, I was like, damn, it's like a big Island Park.
Kinda, you know what I'm saying? But you know who to call. Like, you don't never have no issues there.
All right, so Cass Tech.
Yep.
Arts program. What about Cass Tech made you say I'm going to CT?
First of all, I didn't have a choice.
Hilarious.
It was either Regina or you passed the test to go to Cass. That's it. Regina was an all-girls school. I don't know if you remember that. All-girls Catholic school. So we passed that test and we went to Cass. But Cass, honestly, even my art practice now, I use the systems and processes I learned at Cass, even in my professional practice. I took it to CCS. Like, it helped me thrive at CCS because, of course, the average kid that goes there that can afford there, they come from schools with computers and shit. They had their first round of Photoshop and all of that stuff. And I had been lucky enough to still be able to take class at CCS during my high school experience. I had like one Photoshop class, right? And actually my first experience with Photoshop was at my aunt's job. She worked for Comerica and she was a graphic designer, like I mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And she let me come up there and like play on it. It was one layer, no undos. Whatever you did has been done. And this is the image. And it was like that zip drive. And them shits would always not work. You know what I mean? So, but I took all of that knowledge because at Cass, you have lettering class. You got lettering 1, lettering 2. You got intro to art. You got pen and ink. You got painting. You have the commercial art classes where it was like poster contest as your grade. Like, but with the poster contest, that's actually teaching you how to do a job. You know what I'm saying? Like if you're going into illustration or commercial art, because it's giving you all of the requirements. You have to do it within a certain amount of time. Boom. Right? So yeah, I thrived at that. So yeah. Cass Tech even over CCS as far as like why I'm so successful.
Wow. Okay, that's one heck of a CT story. And we had some of the stories from Cliff in his episode too, telling some of the poster contest stories.
He gets on my fucking nerves. Cause he would make my teacher so mad because he was my favorite teacher. Man, Robert Smith was my favorite teacher. He got on Mr. Smith's last nerve. Because Clifton wouldn't do no work. He would just be bullshitting. And I'm sure he told you in the interview. Yeah, I wait last minute, da. So I finally turned something in and I won. So he had to change my bad grade to an A. And did. That denounced the 40-hour shit.
Yes. That's one of our more famous reels right now. More so talking about our.
It's 100% true. That shit, it's true. It's true. Whatever he said is true.
Okay, so in these classes, so you were talking about Mr. Smith's class and some of those other instructors, and you said that this is really training you for how you go about everything, even in art.
Oh, yeah.
And I also got to put, I forgot to pick this up. So you really went deep into like our Adobe fans, and I've been using Photoshop for a long time too. So like, for everybody else that was just listening, it was like you were talking Chinese. Layers are like, so you layer the image in Photoshop. So like if you have like words here, you have like one picture here, then you have another picture there, and you have different layers. And undo you kind of need because like you may misspell something, you may get a little too heavy-handed on like
and now we're spoiled with the undo.
Oh yeah,
undo all the way to the top.
Yeah, you
because the evolution was like, okay, we'll give you one undo.
Yeah.
All right, we'll give you 3 undo.
Yeah.
So now we got unlimited undo.
You can click the timeline and pick the specific thing you want to undo.
Yep.
Yes, a lot has changed.
Not back in 1996.
No. And those people using Corel were really.
Oh man. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So even in the digital realm, so you even took on art. That's what I was going to ask. Not just because I got some days on me as well. There were always like around that time, like mid 90s, early 2000s, it was always like this debate of like whether you want to, like in music, that's where I was. Whether you want to be digital or analog.
Yep.
And in art, it was some of those same discussions. You embraced the computer.
The discussion was like, it's going to take over. Like, they ain't going to want no real paintings. And it gets worse when it came out with the Wacom. They were saying it. Like every time technology advances to a certain place, and they're having a conversation now with AI, right? But AI can't do what I do. Because you can't make it feel like something because AI don't know how to feel. We got to teach it how to do that. And so it can't, that's why all the missing fingers and shit. I'm like, I ain't worried about none of that.
And that's the discussion that was definitely even happening mid 90s, 2000s. But you embraced the computer a whole lot more than probably maybe even some of your friends did, possibly.
Yeah, because honestly, though, it doesn't make a difference. If you can't do the task on paper or on canvas or whatever, it's not going to look good if you do it digitally. It doesn't matter if you do it digitally or not. If you already don't know how to do it, it's going to look like you, because the goal should be when you create digitally to make it not look like it's been created digitally. That's what it should be. Like, I shouldn't be able to say, oh, that's a digital painting. Especially, and I think there's a couple artists who, and I'll tell you this off camera, off microphone for the drum. Who does it like, but the goal should be to make your digital work have the same feel as your real work. that's what it should. But some people don't necessarily know how to do that because either they might be a great painter outside of the computer, but only know how to do basic shit inside of it. So they do very little things. They might throw a filter on it.
So now I'm picking up that pen from CCS, and it's really more than CCS. It's just worlds and institutions, period. Because creatively, and I've been told this often too, and I think many Black folks have been told this, and not just Black folks too, but right. I know it reigns in our creativity, that you have to do things a certain way, meaning like that whole concept in that science.
I break all of the rules.
And that's one of the key things, that you need to stick to one discipline. When Carlos Nielbach was here and he was speaking about him learning the craftsmanship in Germany, one of the things that was very specific is that you just stick to one task, one craft, one at a time. Whereas you're taking on different...
I could sculpt. I could build. Like, I know how to... Low-key, I can animate a little bit. I hate doing it, but I can. Like, I started off my career in advertising. So I wasn't even a painter for real. Like, I could paint because, as an illustration, as an illustrator, you learn how to paint. I know, like, and I've been painting since high school. But it's like a fine art painter. I didn't do that in college. I didn't start doing that. So I worked in advertising for 3 years. It's the devil's work. So I stopped doing that.
Hilarious.
It was like a devil's experience, too. So... stopped doing that, moved to California to try to sell a cartoon because I had developed some characters and a couple stories, and I thought that I could walk into, Cartoon Network, where ABC, Disney, and just sell my shit, walk out a millionaire. That's not how it works, especially for us Gen Xers who are overlapping this digital age, because that's 2004 is definitely where that overlap came. Because now the expectation is not just like, a treatment and some characters. They want you to have some shit actually animated. And at that time, at least a trailer or something. Now they probably want you to have at least 2 episodes animated on your own to sell a show. I'm not an animator. I actually hate that shit because that shit is math. And I'm a math person, but not like the physics kind. So I wasn't interested in it. But what I did end up doing was artwork for television. My mentor... who became my mentor while I was there. His name is Lyndon Bawa. He was the animation director for the Matrix films.
Wow.
Black man. His wife, Janine Sherman Bawa, is a writer-producer. You probably, I think they met on the set of the PJs. That's how they met.
Oh, man.
But she's done Criminal Minds. She's done Third Watch. Claws by Niecy Nash is hers. The King of Napa Valley, that's hers. Super Black Hollywood, power couple. So one of her homegirls is also a writer. She was a writer on Lincoln Heights. I don't know if you watched that on ABC Family. So they needed an artist. So Linda reached out to me like, hey, would you want to do this? And mind you, I still got an illustrator's portfolio. So I had to do all of these paintings to kind of come up with this portfolio because they needed just a gambit of artwork. So really that job is what kind of push my fine art expansion, if you will.
Okay. You just laid out almost like 4 episodes of Detroit is Different right there. So let's see. No. Let's see how talented I am. So with that alone, that concept, from advertising, so from CCS, I'm guessing that naturally leads a lot to something like commercial advertising.
Yeah.
It didn't fit you at all.
It fit well, actually. It's just the culture.
Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm speaking of.
Yes, no.
So I'm not saying the work.
You can't talk to me like shit. Tyrants don't work for me. And corporate spaces, they breed tyrants.
Definitely. Were you here when
I was here? I was based here. I was at a black ass company too. It no longer exists, thank God. But yeah, I was at a black ass company, getting treated not the best.
Okay. So then LA, I'm guessing.
In
LA. You say California,
yep.
LA.
Yep.
And at that time, you have a cartoon that you want to pitch.
Yeah. That's not even enough for the conversation, but that was so quickly gone.
Okay. Now, and then from there, you end up in television art. Can you explain? Because, you see in the credits, what does a television artist do?
So, you know how, like, in movies, and in this case, Lincoln Heights, one of the main characters, Cassie, was an artist. So, and whenever you see sketchbooks at the end, you remember Superbad, all the dick pics and all of that stuff, that's actually somebody's real artwork. So, there's a ghost artist, what I like to refer to as a ghost. I was the ghost artist, Cassie, and every guest artist that came onto the set. Yeah, so all of the set artwork, all of her sketchbooks. Matter of fact, I was even on screen. My hand was on screen a few times because, as a double where they wanted me to actually paint on camera. Interestingly enough, I hadn't done it for about 12 years, and I got reached out to by the last season of Charmed. What was that, 23, 22? Because it was the final season of Charmed. They had wrote in a new character, a new sister, and she was an artist. So I did all of the artwork for the last season of Charmed as well.
Wow. And just the volume of something like that already sounds like you are just like...
I'm just an artist, baby. I'll do whatever.
How many pieces are you doing for like a show like that?
It depends. It depends on the script. Like, so with Lincoln Heights, they would give, whenever they would write in artwork, I would, have to provide and or do. And with this one, same thing. Script is very specific, and then it's like you're acting as, well, an illustrator is a fine artist. It's just a fine artist with somebody else's story. So,
and it's similar, like the movie I think of that I don't know if people have seen it, but that movie with the Tyler Perry movie with...
I know I ain't see it.
Kelly Rowland on Netflix with the one guy that's in... man, I'm about to throw everything off. But that movie, because he's an artist.
Oh, then, yep, same thing. Yep.
And all these pieces that are just... Also, like, I think with scripts too, because you may need to, like, I knew one of my friends is a clothing, they do wardrobe.
Right.
So you may have to have like half drawn.
Yep.
Medium drawn.
Yep.
Always, like, because this in the script, you can't.
Yep, that's right. So that's where the digital stuff really comes into play. Like, comes in wonderfully, because you can print it out on canvas and, like, you can fake it.
Okay, so now from an experience like that, did you even did you even see that lane for yourself as you're starting to do that?
I don't see any of these lanes for myself. Never have. Except the only lane that I saw was working at the agency. After that, I kind of even stopped writing out goals because I just go where the universe wants me to go.
Expand on that a little bit.
So, you know how in college and in high school, like the exit college or the exit high school, you have to write a list of goals, like for your statement that when you're entering the college, what you want to do, da-da-da-da. I hit that goal once I got the job at the agency, and the agency was so small that it wasn't like I got to do the job of what a creative director or associate creative director would do. For instance, not only would we come up with our ideas, I would get to go on shoots. And I'm 22, like fresh out. And normally that's like a 10-year career. Like you're at that point 10 years into your career. But no, I went, like, as soon as I got hired, which is crazy, my interview was on September 11th. Right? Literally, it was happening during my interview.
Wow.
Right? I got flown to New York 3 weeks later for my first photo shoot.
Wow.
That I was supposed to art direct.
Wow.
Like, literally 3 weeks later after 9/11. And so, yeah, like, I just got to experience all of these things. I went to my first commercial shoot out in LA. Like, I would travel. Per diem was nice. The hotels was nice. I was living a very lavish, nice life, but it was hell actually in the office.
And dealing with the culture of that institution.
Yep.
So now, as you talk about kind of going with where you're welcome, because that's how I'm taking this, and where the art is taking you, after television, where are you at now after
So I
that?
did a
Lincoln
couple
Heights.
shows, I did Lincoln Heights on ABC Family. I did No Ordinary Family, which was on ABC, but I also I got convinced to be a teacher, become a teacher out there.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
matter of fact, I'll tell you the whole story. So I didn't save up my money, my corporate money very well to make a move, right?
You were in your 20s, right?
Definitely in my 20s.
Okay. 20-year-olds
Right.
savings sometimes also.
And my salary was only like $45,000. It started at $27,000. So I wasn't making no real money any damn way. But
you could have been making, as we see with sometimes 20-year-old stars or business people.
Oh, no, I ain't that bad because I'm a saver. Like, my mom is a saver.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, but what I did was I enrolled back in school because school can be a hustle. Like, to all your listeners, if you ever want to make a move, whether it's abroad, cross country, check back into school. Look into some colleges.
Okay.
So I enrolled in the Art Institute of LA, right? Santa Monica. So financial aid to pay for your house. So I got the job on the show like within maybe 6 to 8 months of me being there. So what I would do too is I would sign up for a full load of classes and then drop half of them. So that way I would get a refund check so I could live off the refund check. Like, it was a complete hustle, all right?
Okay.
But I also had to be a good student at the shit that I was still had in my. But the head of my department, which was ironically animation, saw that I got this job on this television show because I was kind of transitioning on just leaving the school and just finding my own way, right?
And I do have to ask this too. Now going back to school with a lot of like real world experience, how was classes, as I've been an older student? What was classes and just the school structure like, kind of not from that same lens of
annoying? Because especially like at an art institute versus like an actual art school with actual paint that smells like supplies, it was annoying being around all them kids. Like,
hilarious.
Because I also had 3 roommates, and they were all 18. I'm 25. So that's a big-ass age difference. I know it don't sound that much, but that's a big-ass age difference up here because I'm also 25 with actual real. It was annoying.
Real experience.
Yes, it was more annoying than anything because it's hard not to be a know-it-all in those moments. It's like, because you can't tell me shit. I know what it means to get a check off of this stuff. Like, you know what I mean? So, but it wasn't lived long, so it wasn't long-lived, so.
Okay. So from there, as you said, one of your professors said that, I see you on TV.
So he left that school, and he was going to be head of the visual arts department at a charter organization. So he asked me to come teach for him. He wanted me to help build up a program to filter out the special kids to art colleges and stuff. I'm like, I could do that shit because I wasn't going to do nothing but mimic Cass at my life at Cass. Like, I literally had built a curriculum and everything. I went back to school so I could make more money teaching. I got my master's, all of that. I used that degree for a year. I was like, I'm done. I'm going back home. I'm not teaching in the classroom anymore. I can't say I don't use the degree. I definitely use the degree. Just in my practice with Blackout Walls, in my programming, and in my development of everything. The degree is used.
It's just not in the
classroom.
How you thought, back to the plan sometimes.
Yeah, because not that I was planning on being in the classroom any dang on way, but institutions is y'all kids are just dollars in seat. That's all, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not about education. It's about the illusion of education.
Well, it is a business. So
right, you know what I'm saying? So it didn't really. And then I'm the art teacher, so man, I would have teachers hating on me because I would just come in and whatever the hell I had on. You're supposed to dress professionally. This is professional. Like, whose profession? You know what I mean? Like, so it was little shit. And LA is a difficult ass city for no reason whatsoever. Black culture is even questionable out there. You know, we don't speak in the street. You know, that's rule number 1 here. When you see somebody black, you speak. We learn that when we get here.
Yeah.
That's the rule. So I was never going to stay there long.
So that, and then you come back to the crib. And at this point, how long were you gone from the crib before
7
moving
years.
back? So 7 years.
But I came home
Often. Okay.
5, 6 times a year. My last year living there, I came home 10 times.
Now, with all of this experience and with the credentials, you could move a lot of places, not just in America, possibly in the world. What was it that brought you back to the crib?
Oh, there is no place like it. Like, Detroit is the best place for Black people, and me, a Black city. This is the best place because it's home. I don't have to stay here. I got a crazy ass passport now, 3 of them. I don't have to stay here, but this is home. This is where I'm planted. This is where I choose to be planted. My family is here. My friends are here. More family, new friends are here that I haven't even met yet. It's here. This safe, people talk about safe places and safe spaces. Safe spaces reside here. As soon as, and that's even upon entry really into the city, no matter who you are. And a lot of people do feel this way. Like you can stop anybody and ask for directions and get them. Mm-hmm. Whether they're a drunkard, they could even be homeless. Like somebody's gonna help you. You know what I mean? Like it's no place like it. Like, and I've been all over. Like I said, I got some stupid passports. I would say the closest might be the Caribbean. Just because the Caribbean is so welcoming, but they might be a little nicer. Or not that we're not nice, but more trusting and nice. First off. Whereas we might be nice, but we still kind of seeing what you got going first.
Okay. All right. So back to the crib. What's the vision artistically? What lands your way?
All I was doing, my vision was I'm not going to have another employer because that's none of my business.
Check one.
I didn't have a real vision. I had cashed my little purse, cash in my purse. That's kind of like a 401k for that, whatever the teacher shit is. I was living off a little $12,000 for like a year and a half. I was painting on clothes. That was my business.
That is very Detroit as well. Okay.
Yes. Right?
Yes.
Right?
To
I was traveling. I was going, I was gone. But no, I was painting on clothes. And it started me just painting on my own clothes because I didn't want to buy new shit. So I'm like, okay, let me just revamp. But then people start asking me for it. So came home, started painting on clothes. I met my partner like a month or two before I moved back home. And I had a meeting with Flo Boutique, who was going to carry my clothes, but I didn't have a name. And so I told him, like, yeah, I just got to come up with a name. He was like, well, you can have Grind if you want to. Girl Raised in Detroit, which was his brand at first.
Wow.
But he gifted me the brand. He gifted me the trademark and everything. So Girl Raised in Detroit, Grind Apparel was what I did up until 2015.
Okay. And now, all the disciplines are art. Because now into fashion.
Yep.
How did you like the fashion world?
Oh, man. So even at CAS, right? So the beauty about CAS is we have curriculums, which are like majors at a college, right? So you have classes on that track for your major, for your curriculum. So I was in commercial art, but we also had fashion. We also had graphic design. We also had architecture. We also had jewelry. So I was done with my commercial art classes like way early. So I would just skip some of my regular classes I would skip into the fashion classes. Or if I had like an open hour, I would just go over there to Miss Stevens' class. I would just hang out with her. So she just put me into like Fashion 5. So I could do fashion illustration too. I don't know the ins and outs, like all of the learning stuff, but I know how to illustrate them. So yeah, so I was always teetering on that too. And I feel like as a young artist, from 5, 6, 10, 12, you do fashion anyway. Yeah, because I've been drawing. The crazy thing is everything that I do now for a career outside of like drawing for television, I did as a kid. My mama let me draw on my wall in my bedroom. I used to draw and paint on my clothes coming up. And of course, I used to draw on everything and everything. So literally every discipline that I had that might have been hobby-like as a child, I have made a career.
Okay. All right. And that to 15, what was the feel? What was the flow? What was the reception of the people connecting to your fashion? What do you think people love most about it?
Probably that it was hand painted by me or illustrated by me, because I would have hand painted clothes, but I also would have silk screen clothes that with my art on it, because that was the lesser price. You know what I'm saying? They loved it, but the hand painted stuff they love, but they can't afford. They couldn't afford. So now that I'm painting on walls, they wish that they could have bought a piece.
Got that? Like, I wish I'd have had that jacket.
Right.
Man, I wish I had
that
original Sidney James. Look at this.
So, I do dip in and dip out. Like, I still might paint on my stuff. Like, and I ended up having a shoot with Van. That was back in 2021. All that George Floyd pandering that companies were doing. Post George Floyd.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So from that, you said 2015. Where do you pivot from there?
So I'm going to just rewind a little bit. So 2009, Halima Cassell's moved back from Brooklyn. She starts taking over vacant lots in her neighborhood, and she's growing community gardens, right? So I came back, I visited 2009, and I was like, oh, I want to do the same thing, but I don't have a green thumb. I'm starting to desire one now in this administration. But at the time, I didn't give a shit about having no green thumb, but I want to do the same thing. So we took over a vacant lot in my neighborhood, but we erected art. We found like old doors and we painted on them. We recruited other artists like Christopher Batten, Sabrina Nelson, Sangor Reed, and we just painted on these doors and we erected them from the ground. So fast forward 2011, the year I actually moved home, we revamped that because, of course, Michigan weather had tore our shit up. But we revamped it, added my partner Lamar Landers to the fold, and we did a beautiful installation. And Instagram is a thing, right? Social media can drive all of this, actually, So we do that. Then I get reached out to by a white boy, Derek Weaver, who used to own 4731, which is now the Love Building. Those used to be like studios. Because remember, Mahogany, yes. So Derek Weaver reached out to me, saw what I had done with the erected doors. And he was putting together Grand River, along with Syntax, Grand River Creative Corridor. So Syntax was, organizing all the graffiti artists because he got permission from all of those business owners up and down the strip to paint on their stuff. Because a lot of those buildings, they looked dilapidated, but they were actually functioning businesses. So he asked me to add a fine art aspect to it. So we created these structures that we erected from the ground. And again, we recruited other artists, Sabrina, Chris, Clifton joined me for that one. And actually, when they removed them from the Love Building, once the building was repurchased, they actually erected them off of Oakland Ave. I found them oddly just driving down the street. They're kind of off of Oakland and Euclid. So it's over there still. So our installation
still lives.
Yep, it still lives. So that was back in 2012. 2014, we're still doing activations over there. He had given us some studio space, and he offered me up a wall. This wall no longer exists. So I painted a picture of Sugar Man, Rodriguez. And then the following year, Murals in the Market was coming up. I had done the Red Bull House of Art residency, and that's where I met Rula David. Rula David used to be the regional marketing person. And she hit me up hey, we're putting together Murals in the Market. It's a mural festival. Would you want to participate? I see you do walls, because she saw that Rodriguez. I'm like, sure. I didn't even know what it was about. I'm happy to be here. I'll do the art. You know what I'm saying? Painted the shit out of that wall, because Murals in the Market is 25 artists from out of town, 25 artists that are local. Out of 50 artists, I was one of 5 Black people. And one of 2 from Detroit. It was me and Kobe Solomon. Right. So here's where, and I painted myself, Tiff Massey, Rashawn Rucker, and Tylan Sawyer, and I painted us in the composition of the Vibe magazine cover of Death Row. And I called it Grind, right, instead of Vibe. That mural was listed as one of the top 18 murals in the city like a month later in a publication. So I started getting jobs hitting me up for murals literally a month after Murals in the Market.
Wow.
So that's why I say 2015 is kind of when all of that changed. And I haven't stopped since. And I was kind of I was the token Black for Murals in the Market for 4 years straight. Like, because here's the thing that a lot of these institutions and entities miss, the biggest piece of the puzzle, is that public art is a two-way conversation. It is a conversation between the artist and the community members that got to live. It should be reflective of something that has to do with the community. It don't have to be a portrait per se, but it should be something that the community gives a fuck about. Like, most people don't connect to those murals or care about those murals that went up in Eastern Market. Not for real. Not enough to like revisit them all the time, stuff like that. But people actively go visit Blackout Walls murals because the work speaks to them. It speaks not only to the city, but to Black people and the Black people that reside here. It feels like something. It's one thing to paint cute shit, but if the cute shit don't have nothing to do with whatever is happening in this space, or it doesn't, bring out any type of emotion of whether it's happiness, like I'm happy to see it, or I needed to see it, like, what's the point?
It's unique that you bring that up, and so much more I want to contextualize for the people listening. So Murals in the Market is inside of Eastern Market, which Eastern Market is, I guess, it's the largest open space market for like farmers market.
Yep.
But now it also has other businesses that anchor. Shout out to Bert and the Deering family for holding down that space for so long. But many businesses anchor there. And when I was younger, and definitely when I was a truck driver, it was just kind of known as the farmers market, and a place that, you go get like meat and stuff like that.
Yep.
Around that time in 2010, 11, it starts shifting into also more of a cultural center with more bars than just what Joey does with Cutters and many other spaces.
Right.
And Murals on the Market became like hey, let's beautify this space and let's make it more active.
In 2015,
2015, and I remember that piece, and that was a really cool one. And there are some other pieces that stand, but as we're talking similar to what does public art kind of become, and you're like really on this like Mr. Miyagi path because you really do it in your neighborhood with the doors first.
Mm-hmm.
And then now you're picking up and doing a little bit more, meeting that connection. The gentleman you talk about, he's in this documentary, I forget the name of it, about a couple of different Detroiters that comes out like around that time in like 2013. And the work that he was doing at then what becomes the Love Building and some other spaces up and down, and dealing with the city, giving tickets and the permitting and just some of the functions of what's happening with the city. Kind of how we even start this interview when we now start with the like, you need some more Black folks if we're going to be in the city. That's
but not just Black folks. We need Black folks from the city.
And that's where I say it from my neighborhood, I guess.
You know what I'm saying? Because the problem is the people in these positions aren't from here, so they don't give a fuck about here.
And definitely the gentleman that did the
it wasn't just him though, it was her too.
I mean, he was, I think, the one that definitely dealt with a lot of like what's labeled as some of the challenges, but some of the disconnects of less about that, even though that's big, but more about, like we say, to make something be a part of a community, it has to be embraced, as you say. It's
Right.
a two-way conversation, but also you have to respect the artist that's giving that love too, because if not, then it's really not going to be inclusive of something that everybody's going to buy into.
Right. Right.
You know? So when I think of the even like the piece that shout out to Dez that he did for Kool-Aid in the parking lot of Baker's and what it meant to connect, where it's like, okay, I gotta connect to his family. We're gonna go to Baker's because this was a place where he had his Monday nights. Like it's a lot of other steps that go into like what we're gonna do than just like sometimes the artist possibly feeling like, I don't know who the audience is for this, the community feeling like, okay, why are they doing this? And the business owner feeling like, hey, let's just, you know, do something that may be cool as an outreach. Whereas when all the pieces come together, it's different. And now you say since 2015 and you've traveled many places, uplifting a lot of this.
I do my best.
And it really started from that piece from seeing Halima.
Yep.
So let me go back to the door installation that started in your neighborhood. What was it about? What made you even think of this is what I want to do and this is how I want to do it?
It literally started with Halima's gardens. I didn't know the how. I was actually, that's the beauty of also being from Detroit. You gonna find that person who know how. You know, so I actually hit up my high school sweetheart who is a general contractor. This is what I'm trying, who's also from the neighborhood. This is what I'm trying to do. How do I do this? Oh, you got a post hole dig in 72 inches into the ground. Da-da-da-da-da. So we had to get these things, these augers and do all this. Like, it was a lot of fucking work. But I know how to do that now. You know what I'm saying? So I just figure out, once I had an idea, I'll figure out the how during it, you know, during the process.
So also being one of those people that people say I'm crazy for having this studio in my neighborhood and the garden and all of that stuff. What did it give you to do something like that in your own neighborhood where you grew up?
Oh, man. Even then, like, even the first year that we started, we had tires, like old tires that we let my little cousins and little kids in the neighborhood just paint on. While we were painting our stuff, we would let them paint and then like plant stuff in it. So it just felt right. It felt really good that I was actually doing something that mattered. That's what it felt like. Like, cause it's one thing to do art and to do a pretty picture, to do a nice sculpture. It's nice. But when you actually have interactions with the people that live in the area that you're doing this with and your actual family, I didn't know it meant so much to my little cousins. Because when I say they were little, like maybe 7, 8, 9, some were 2. Now that person is like 20. Like one of my cousins, one of the ones who was little back then, back in 2009, is in her 20s now, asked me, this had to be about 6 months ago. We were at a family something. And she was like, Sydney, are you when you had us painting those tires and stuff? And when we got to play at that stuff when you were painting, are you going to do anything like that again? Because now she's a mother. And now she's an auntie to all these other. Because I would love for our kids to be able to experience that too. Because I think that was so cool. She's like 24 now. Like, so it means everything and maybe nothing to answer the question.
I love that you capture that because people always ask me sometimes that question. So hearing the way that I say when you can pour into your community, hence back to that uplifting, like it means something from the person to be from the crib. And more so than from the crib, really build that strong connection with the crib. It adds a layer of authenticity where it's like, it's hard to explain sometimes.
Yeah.
It's hard to explain.
Yep.
It's hard to explain. Like, it's people that'll go to the corner and, like I say, sometimes my neighborhood can be colorful, but it's some colorful things that sometimes happen up the block. And if you get lost and people be like, hey, is it a studio over here? they'll be like, yeah, my man up the street.
Yep.
So it's a different relationship that exists, I think, when you're actually working within your community.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the other reason why I uplift so many people that work for the city, should live in the city, because it
used to be that was the thing. You had to live in the city.
Residency laws, yeah.
Yep. They need to bring that back.
Well, we'll see.
They're not going to, but they need to.
We shall see.
Yeah.
So with that, you're traveling the world, but you still, Blackout Walls has become big.
I know, it's crazy.
Let's talk about the first one there, and we can close on that. Then I got the classic Detroit is Different questions. Okay. How did the first Blackout Walls come to life?
Out of anger. I mean, actually, no, I can't even say that. It wasn't out of anger. Although a lot of my big decisions do come out of anger.
Passion. Yes.
Passion. In 2020, I was painting in a mural festival in Denver called Crush Walls. Thomas Detour Evans was there. He resides there. He's Black. Max Sansing, who's based out of Chicago, was also there. And there was a few other Black people that I wasn't familiar with at the time. And we were just happy that we were all there at the same time. Because often when I've traveled participating in these mural festivals, I'm the only Black person. Or a Black woman, for sure.
Definitely. I was going to say Black woman.
For sure, Black woman. Like, literally, and I've said it because this is the whole ass truth. I did not paint alongside another Black woman until I gave her a job.
Wow.
I mean that shit. Like, it's the whole truth. Like, so much so, I didn't, even at CCS, I was the only one that really created, like I did, like aggressive, like illustration, like whatever the guys were doing. That's the shit that I was attracted to. I didn't know many, like even the other Black girls at CCS that were there, they weren't doing that shit. And that definitely not on that level. Or they were timid with their work and just stopped doing art altogether. I didn't have any other female that I could really relate to in that way. But yeah, so we were there in Denver. We're like, oh yeah, we need to create our own. I'm like, yes, we do need to create our own. So I'm like, we can start it in Detroit. Blah, 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 blah. Because of course, men's. We need to do a retreat here. We come talk back and talk about it. Man, by the time I got home, I was already writing notes for a proposal. Like a few months later, I commissioned my Kresge cohort, Jean Elster, to write the proposal for me, which I presented to the Knight Foundation. And I was able to, get it jump started like 2021.
Wow.
Yeah. So Nate Wallace, with the help of Nate Wallace, he helped me fundraise like down more funding because he was at Knight at the time. That first year, I had so many sponsors. You would think I had $3.5 million worth of money. I had the Knight Foundation. I had Kresge Foundation. I had Detroit Business. I had Life Water. I had Ford Foundation. I had so many logos. Mm-hmm. But no, I had the exact amount of money that I needed.
That's what's up.
So, but now it's easier doing the fundraising part. And we've always had City Wall support. First year, City Walls prepped all of our walls, power washed, painted, did the base coat for all of our walls. And then second, and this year, they're also fiscal sponsors. So yeah, we get it done.
That's what's up. I love it. Yeah. I love that story, which now I told you when we started. I meet you at that maybe was, and also you're doing that in the shadow of COVID-19 too.
I am. I did. Yes.
So
it's too much.
More power. More power. So I was gonna say I meet you. That maybe was the second year, maybe 22.
Okay.
At the Shadow Gallery.
Oh, then it was 2023. Yep.
23.
Yep.
So I meet you at the Shadow Gallery. Good friend Christian Dorsey, I've known Dorsey for a long time, is like, come on down, you gotta come. I was like, well, I'm gonna be around the corner at the release of My homie at the time was a part of the Detroit City Distillery.
Oh, yeah.
Everything. And then he was like, well, you got to come over this way. I was like, I got you. You know, I'm going to support you, my brother. Then I come up and then it was like, you're Sydney. Sterling. And that's how the meeting goes. And I remember, and then we, banter and talk a little shit back and forth,
Definitely
just Detroit and stuff.
Yes.
And then from there, I'm like, yeah, I need to get Sydney on the podcast. It took a while.
And I'm here.
This is what it is. So thank you so
for
much.
Having me.
And Blackout will be coming back.
Yep, September 5th through the 15th.
And I see some type of it's gonna be some type of collaboration with Detroit is Different now. We're gonna do this. We're gonna roll out the red carpet. We're gonna do something real cool, Detroit is Different style.
Okay.
Just know that. I don't know what the collaboration is.
We're gonna figure it out though.
Yeah. We gonna mix. We gonna stack the Legos.
I love me a good collaboration.
Yeah. And definitely creativity, culture, community, collaboration, and cussing and carrying on.
That's right. All of the C's.
All right. So classic.
555 C's.
Yeah, that's going to be the name of the damn show.
That's right.
We're going to call it that. All right. So with that being said, classic Detroit is Different questions.
Okay.
Very first car, year, make, and model, year you got it.
What year was that? 1993 Ford Aerostar. Our first car was a minivan because it was, passed down.
Okay.
This y'all car.
Okay.
Drive to school in this.
All right. I was going to say, where's the first place you went?
School.
Oh, man. Went to school the first time out.
I can't remember that. I don't know. We were just driving shit. Probably somewhere I ain't had no business. I don't know.
There we go. All right.
No clue, but that car saw it all.
Okay. Okay. And with a van, I know everybody was like,
listen,
no more bus for me. No more bus for me.
Right. That's the thing. We were the transporters. The crazy thing is, so my dad died the night of the first day of 10th grade. Before he passed away, I was going to be one of these new age kids. I ain't give a fuck about driving. I'm going to get chauffeured. He would pick me up and drop me off to the parties. I'm fine. I don't care about getting picked up for the parties. I'm fine. I will. Then as soon as he passed away, I definitely had my license July 6th the following year. You know what I'm saying? My birthday. And I transported everybody. Everybody. All the time.
Well, yeah, with a van, that's where it's like, even West Side Friends was like, I just got to go.
Listen, Tireman in 94. Yes, that's where my shit gets in. The city saw the vehicle. All right.
Going to Cass, it's like Fred way on the West Side. You said Tireman 94.
Yeah.
All right. Second question. You're the DJ at the end of the fireworks, Woodward and Jefferson. You get to play 2 songs. What songs you playing?
Like right now?
It's up to you. It's you the DJ.
Am I trying to calm down the situation or hype them back up?
You know I'm about to say it's back to you. It's your vibes.
Probably some jail and weave shit.
Okay. Ghetto Tech.
When did it start becoming that? When we were kids, we called it mixed music.
I don't even know what I called it, but I do know Ghetto Tech as a brand, it helps it sell.
Okay. And I love Shake That, Make That Booty Bounce, but...
Oh, shout out Trick Trick. Oh,
no, never mind.
Goon
I can't
Squad.
say that. Yeah.
Goon Squad?
No more shout outs for that.
No more shout out to Tricky? Uncle Tricky.
Yeah. Shame on you, Tricky.
Well, yeah, he's always been colorful.
But that was my shit.
Okay. Goon Squad. Yeah.
Honestly, I might even throw in some YG like house music because honestly, his house music is what got me liking house. So one of that church album. I can't remember the album, but it was the shit.
It's a whole graduation class of like 1985 that's like, what are you saying? They're flipping. They had to press pause on this interview because you said that. The 85 graduation class is like, what is she talking?
I don't give a damn.
No, in the city, no.
Oh, you know what my shit though was?
DJ Knuckles.
You know what I could play? You know I played the East Side Cheddar Boys.
Okay.
What was that shit called?
Oh, you probably talking about Old Boy.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I would play Old Boy.
That's what I talk about. East Side and West Side as Tough Tone was a Northwestern guy, and well, he attended Northwestern, like Danny Brown. A lot of MCs was at Northwestern. A lot of them didn't necessarily make it across the stage per se, but shout out NO.
Ain't that unfortunate?
Well, you know, it's
it is what it is.
It's an interesting institution, Northwestern, especially during that era.
I think schools in general are interesting institutions.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother podcast.
Yeah, especially you got a master's in it. See?
No, but I was still, I don't want to shout him out, but yeah.
But yeah, we
Old Boy and Shake That Make That.
Yeah, and rest in peace to Wipeout. Yeah. Cheddar Boy, that era, like I would say, like
and I used to work at Max Green's on the East Side.
Max Green?
I sure did.
Max Green.
They used to come in the store. They ain't buy shit, but they would show me they wives.
Max Green's was definitely between Northland and Eastland.
Yep.
You would walk in Max Green's just so that you could flirt with the woman that worked there.
That is true, honey. Let me tell you. The numbers was up. I was up, okay? In 99, 2000, I was up. You could listen.
Max Green's
That's
is a staple of Detroit culture.
It is.
We
kept all you niggas fresh. Met Galley for the dandy. We got you. Yeah,
more like River Rock.
Right? Right.
Met Gala. It was more like
Met Gala, the Floods. What you need?
All right. Last one. You could rename Woodward after one Detroiter. Who would it be and why?
I don't know if I would. I don't think anybody is that important. Or should be. I don't know.
It's like I gotta press you on that one. Why do you think nobody's that important?
I don't know, because I don't care about shit like I even with, I just recently purchased a commercial property that I'm renovating to be gallery, event, and workshop space, right? It's going to be called, literally the address is 4617 East Davis. It's going to be called 4617 Art Center. Because I don't know. I don't know.
So you just call it Detroit Street?
Maybe, or just keep it as Woodward Avenue to, sustain the history that it's the first paved road in the world.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know who Woodward is. He probably was somebody's racist, but...
Yes. Let's put it like this. Back to the institutions. Why?
Back to the institutions. I don't know.
First mayor, first governor, definitely a enslaver.
Who would you name it after?
It depends on the day. It's multiple people. So Coleman Young gets most votes. So sometimes I think that. Sometimes I think
my daddy didn't like him, so I definitely can't say him.
I know you wouldn't.
I had to shake his hand and take a picture with him when I was 5 because I was in one of those art
contests. Yeah.
Yeah, that was. I felt so guilty. I was 5.
Hilarious. Hilarious.
I'm like, well, daddy don't like you.
Aretha Franklin sometimes. Fred G. Sampson sometimes. Sometimes The Black Man. Sometimes I think, it's so many different people that come to mind. It depends on the day. But today, right now, who I'm thinking most, I'm going to say Mama Barnes, or Thea Barnes. Love my godmama, because this is one of them vibes and one of them days where I already feel that energy. So that's who I would say right now at this moment.
The only name that came to mind was Orland Jones. Because that was my uncle. He was the historian, So that would probably.
I'm with it.
Yep.
All right. Well, I'm definitely with it. And that's going to stretch a lot of that culture from Conant Gardens over there. So
it sure would. Sure would.
It's gonna bring a new energy to Woodward.
It would. And because he could tell you everything about Conant Gardens, but he could also tell you a whole lot of shit about this city.
I mean, to know one, you got to know the other.
Amen. So, yeah, I think it would be Orland.
Yep. And then I'm going to close on this one. If you ever get invited to one of those house parties with like the red light outside, and it happens to be in that neighborhood, it's going to be some good food there. It's going to be some good fun. You need to go. But you better know how to play spades. That's all I got to say about Conant Gardens.
Play spades and bridge. I know how to play the cards. You know, I learned from my granny.
I was going to say, yeah, that's one of them type of neighborhoods. That's one of them
Can you
neighborhoods.
play gin? Did you learn how to play gin with your granny? Yes, I did. So,
yeah, now that's an old school game if it ever was one.
Listen, that's kind of like the introduction to all that shit.
It's like AC Doocy.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for having me.
Definitely.
I enjoyed the conversation.
All day. Peace.
Detroit is Different is where you get information, artistry, history, music, and even comedy. Detroit is Different, a home for the culture of Detroit. Visit online at DetroitisDifferent.com today.